But I'll be honest with you, there's a whole new crop of teachers in the last 10 years that we very much understand that music is a full brain experience that can help the child develop neurologically and physically and emotionally in a way that helps them holistically become who they are, whether or not they have a natural talent in music, whether or not music is something that they should, focus on in a serious way. I've met plenty of teachers that way. It's not all of them. I'm going to back up and say that the old school method, the type of teaching method that I was in, it was a bit too rigid. It didn't account for children and all their complexities. It didn't really think about instilling a joy of music. It was very discipline based, and it was very structured. It's a lot about sight reading, and many of the music teachers were classical in nature, and they very much just taught classical music. I know from my experience, my music teacher wasn't necessarily very much fun. She was very serious, and it was mainly about sight reading. Now, I made up songs. I was always making up songs, right? And as a music teacher, I'm very much exploring with my students that exact question. Now, the younger they are, the more apt they are to want to make up songs, right? Before the age of 5, almost all students love to make up songs. They really will. And most of them have zero inhibitions about it. Like, they will just sing, they will dance, they will make up songs, they don't care. But some of them are doing it all the time on their own around the house, and some of them are only doing that in these certain musical settings, right? So that's one of the things I'm kind of trying to decipher, trying to get, when I get to know students, these are the kind of things that I can't just necessarily outright ask everybody up front. You have to take some time. You have to be asking the parents. You have to be getting to know some of these factors, right? But when you do, you start to discover this, because over the years, I recognize that some students are the type of singer that I am, where they are walking around the house singing all the time. And when that is the case, they tend to have some of the more aesthetic voices, because much about the human voice is just using it, right? There's many things that you don't need to go through formal training as a vocalist to learn how to do. If you are just walking around singing all the time, you are in general going to gain mastery over your voice in a way that somebody who doesn't really like to sing or doesn't want to sing, in many ways, that will just be a leg up. And so it's one of the things I notice. The students that come in that really love singing, they really have aesthetic voices after the age of 5, right? Because and before the age of 5 too, that's just a factor you want to notice about your child, or as a music teacher you want to sort of investigate. Is this child singing all the time on their own? Because many of us do. And when that's the case, these are sort of our natural singers. These are the people who probably do have some kind of aptitude that needs to be developed. Okay? Now after the age of 5 to 9, there's many students that still like to write songs, right? They still like to make up songs. I do one exercise in particular with all of my students where I do duets with them. This is a topic that I'm going to at some point explain my method, because I've just had a parent recently who is very involved with his child's lessons and is doing something that I recommend for everybody. Any parent who's even remotely willing to do this, I highly recommend that they take music lessons at the same time as their children. I've seen this over and over again make such a difference in the lives of the students, to instill a sense of motivation, to instill a sense of joy of music and purpose. And it doesn't have to even be that the parents play duets, but ultimately, to me, it's even better if we can get to a place where they're playing together, because the joy of playing together with your family members is unlike anything in the world. I mean, it's truly, I think, what we're meant to be doing. Playing music in the home is just part of, a much better activity to share with each other than, say, watching movies, in my opinion. But I digress. So these, this parent had gotten really interested in what I was able to do with this child, because I've gotten really good. It doesn't even take that much, but maybe I'm good at it. Maybe it would be easy for everybody. I will explore that at some point when I lay this method out. But I'm basically able to duet with a child almost immediately and give them the instruction to just stay on the white notes and play whatever they want, but listen, listen to me. And with some students, I have to really, really say it doesn't matter what you play, right? And another students, they take to it. Lately, these students have just been taking it to it like white on rice. Like, that's not really the proper statement, but taking it to like a fish in the ocean. Let's say that. Many, many students love this, especially I've been taking over some students lately that have from another teacher who've been in lessons for 2 or 3 years and never been introduced to this, and they love it. It is so fun. It's showing them the joy of music, and and this is an important part of lessons that students aren't, that they're being explained or shown or demonstrated why they're working hard at music, right? Working hard has got to be part of the lessons, but if they don't know why they're doing it, then they won't do it. And this is probably another reason why when they see their parents playing music, it helps to answer that question of why am I doing this, for all those years where they have to be very patient. But many of these students between the ages of 5 and 9 are willing to do this improvisation with me and love it. Now, not all of them. Some of them show me right then and there, even at that age, that they want to know, they want to play note per note. They want they want to be told what note to be played, right? That's just some people's personalities. And some of these personalities are because they're so strong in the details. They in many ways have a level of precision and logic in business. I mean, they have a talent. It's just that it's not there, And sometimes it's an indication of insecurity, right? Sometimes it can be an indication of them not being able to trust themselves. Of maybe they've been raised, or maybe they've absorb too much of an authoritative approach to life, and they are risk adverse, right? So it can show all that, but who knows? That's not the reason that, it's not about psychoanalyzing this child. It's just to explain that from 5 to 9, many children still have their creativity intact and they still enjoy making up songs. But it's still something to note. What level, how complete? Are they just little ditties and then they don't think about them again? Or has the student actually, this is one of the amazing things. I've had a student once, and I started teaching her when she was 5. She loved to sing, really. But the thing that was remarkable is that her songs would stay the same. She would sing a song for me one week and I'd be like, oh, that's a great song. Now, for most students, the very next week, they don't remember exactly how that song went, right? Even if they remember a few lyrics from it. She would literally sing it the same way every week. And this was more than one song. The songs that were coming through her were completely intact. The part I had a hard time with was explaining to her and her mom how rare this is and what technique that was. And unfortunately, now I taught her for many, many years, and for that type of student, she loved voice, but I was able to really pull piano in and get her to a place. Piano was never her favorite thing at all, but I was willing to convince her that for her songwriting, this was going to be necessary, and she did learn a fair amount of piano. But unfortunately, there came a point, and this happens to a lot of students in their pre-teens, that they get out of touch with that. They suddenly, their identity changes, and suddenly they're not as comfortable making up songs. The songs kind of dry up, or they're just not as willing to do them in front of me. They don't have, if at this point I'm not on the same page with the parents and we haven't been able to instill the idea, and this is where guidance is coming in, that this is a talent. This is a gift that you want to develop, even if you're not sure what you want to do with it, even if you don't want to share it with anybody. This could be just for you. But not every child has these songs coming to them. Some children are very happy to just play, other people's music. And in many cases, they might end up being a great musician. I know so many extraordinary musicians that have zero desire to ever make up a song. They are so happy to play other music, and their creativity flows that way. They're not any less creative. It's all about exploring what that child's particular expression is going to be, what their unique, how their unique gifts are going to come together, and how that's going to look like for their life, right? And I love that. I love exploring this with children. I've been so fortunate to work with some kids from like very young to in their teens to following them in their 20s. finding out what they do with life. And it's been so fun. It's wonderful to see, because the emphasis shouldn't be like, oh, this child has this, so he needs to become this. That's that cog in that wheel mentality. Oh, he should follow this track then. And the hardest part of my teaching has been trying to get parents and students out of those tracks, right? Where they're thinking all one way or all another, or if they're good at this and they should do this, but they don't want to do this. So why would they do that? So that's what happened to that one particular child, I think, is that she got some weird feedback on some of her songs. And granted, some of the songs could have been construed as a little bit disturbing. But the thing was, this was a safe place for her to express that from an emotional intelligence place. Expressing things that are disturbing through song is the right place, and how you react to that is very, very important. And if a child faces a reaction like, what are you writing about that for? It can, that easily, songs are blocked. They never want to face that shame again. When they were just, their right brain was just open and pouring out, and in many ways could have been, a call to help. This is where music therapists and art therapists can come in and really, use creative arts to really be able to understand where a child is coming from, or an adult even, because many times we're unable to consciously understand things that go on, but through our creativity, we're able to understand more who we are. But we have to be willing to open up. We have to be willing to be vulnerable. And the people around us, this is advice to parents,